Mornings with Brian and Leland on News Talk 102.3.
$7:15 here on News Talk 102.3 and AM 1240. Get ready, folks. We're about to visit with a true American hero this morning. His name is Edgar Harrell. He's got a brand new book out called Out of the Depths. Now, he served in World War II on the USS Indianapolis and is one of only a few, very few survivors of a torpedo attack on his ship. Spent several days out to sea. And he's written about it and recounted those stories for us in this book called Out of the Depths. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Well, I'm doing fine, sir. Thank you.
Let me first start by saying thank you so much for your service to our country.
Well, thank you kindly, sir, again.
So you were on the USS Indianapolis as it was attacked by a torpedo just really days before World War II ended.
That's right, July 30, 1945. Actually, we had just delivered the components of Fat Man and Little Boy, the atomic bombs that were dropped a few days later at Nagasaki and Hiroshima, but we were going to the Philippines to prepare for the main invasion of Japan, which would have taken place in November 45.
Now, did you realize at the time that you were transporting the uranium that was to be used for those bombs?
No, we had the foggiest idea of what we had. We knew that it was top secret, and we basically were told that every hour that we delayed in getting it to the forward area would cost lives, so we knew we had a hot potato, but we had the foggiest idea. We did not know until August the 6th and the 9th when they were dropped at Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
My goodness. Now, what was your role on the ship?
Well, I was a part of a Marine detachment. There were 39 of we Marines, of which only 9 survived. But we had all the security, all the guard duty, plus we manned 40-millimeter and 5-inch anti-aircraft guns. And I had the honor of serving as Captain McVeigh's orderly much of the time that I was aboard.
Goodness. Now, hey, Leland, I don't think your mic's on. There we go.
How long did you serve aboard the Indianapolis?
Well, I went aboard in early 44, and I was aboard until she was sunk in July 30, 45. I was at Saipan, Tinian, Guam, Sea Battle of Philippine Seas, down at Peleliu. I was at Iwo Jima, Okinawa, 3-hour strike zone, Tokyo, and lastly, I was the Marine Guard that guarded the components of the atomic bombs.
My goodness.
One thing I've noticed about World War II veterans is that you don't tend to talk about your experiences a whole lot, especially when you compare to some of the veterans of our later wars like Vietnam or Persian Gulf or Iraq or Afghanistan. What was it like for you going back through those experiences and recounting those experiences to write your book?
Well, of course, it brought back all memories, and I needed to get it off of my chest and actually to go in-depth interview with my son to write the book. It was the best cathartic I'm sure that I could have had at the time because I needed to get it off my chest. And since then, I've had the privilege of traveling the country. I've been in some 30-plus states, speaking 30-plus times a year, telling of God's providence in the fact that 317 of the 1197 survived. In other words, we lost 880 of our shipmates.
Take us to that moment, if you could, please, sir, when you were aboard the ship and you knew you had just been struck by a torpedo.
Well, the moment that it struck, I'm sleeping under the barrels of number 1 turret out on the open deck. about 14 minutes past midnight, and I knew that something terrific had happened, and then I heard the second explosion about 2 or 3 seconds later, and then the third explosion under the magazine of number 2 turret, and I could hear that the bulkheads were breaking below because the first torpedo cut about 40 feet or so of the bow off, and we're about 3 decks deep there, wide open, pushing forward, and of course the water is pushing below decks all the way back to midship, and the ship went down, as I said, in about 12 minutes. And I'm desperate to make my way to my emergency station on the quarterdeck. But going back there, I realized I don't have a life jacket. My life jacket is locked up in my locker. And there were those who were coming out on the open deck that had been flash burned in misery, pleading for someone to give them some assistance. But I made my way to the quarterdeck, and it was from the quarterdeck that I finally received word to abandon ship and then to look off in the blackness of the night and to see that I'm to dive into, so to speak, half-inch of oil on the top of the water. And not knowing not knowing that I'm going to be out there 4.5 days.
Edgar Harrell joins us on the program this morning, author of a brand new book called Out of the Depths. He was aboard the USS Indianapolis during World War II when it was struck, as he just described, by several torpedoes, and had to basically just jump into the water. You didn't have a life vest or a life raft that you were getting into. You just had to jump into the open water?
Yes, all I had was a Kapok life jacket. No life rafts were available. And so all we have is a Kapok jacket, and a Kapok jacket won't last 4.5 days. So about the second day, before the third day, you take them off and you sit in them, and you have to keep swimming, or else they're going to pitch you in the water, and you don't have the strength to get back in that inner tube, out in the swimming pool.
Golly, so you spent 4.5 days in the open ocean. What must that have been like?
Well, the worst part of it was the sharks, and every little bit you'd see a buddy that would be disemboweled, or the bottom torso gone, or a leg is gone, and all the blood and more sharks. And my group was a group of about 80. Several didn't make it till daybreak because they were injured when they hit the water. But after the sharks mauled us, we lost several boys. By the third day at noon, our group of 80, there were only 17 of us still alive.
Golly. So what's going through your mind at that time? I mean, did you ever begin to give up hope that you would ever be rescued?
I had faith to believe. I often say that when I was leaving the ship, I prayed, and I say that there's times when you pray and there's times when you pray, and there's a difference. And I felt assurance that somehow, some way, that the Lord was giving me assurance that I would make it. But I certainly did not know I'm going to be out there 4.5 days. But I not only pleaded with Him before I left the ship, there were many times daily that I'm pleading, because I'm seeing boys commit suicide, drink salt water and go crazy, or even stab their own buddy thinking he's got a canteen of water in his Kapok jacket. And so you're desperate, you're pleading for help all the times that we're out there.
Now, were you a Christian? You mentioned praying as you're leaving the ship. Was that just kind of a, wow, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to throw up a prayer? Or were you a Christian believing in Jesus at the time? I was a Christian,
and I knew when I'm holding on to that rail and praying, looking out into the blackness of the night, looking out into what I could vision as eternity, and yes, I knew to whom I was praying, and then to have some assurance that I'm going to make it, and not knowing that I'm going to be out there all that time, and to go through what I went through. through. And so I cannot, even today, I cannot go very long each day without just looking up and saying, thank you, Lord. I would not be here today. I would not have my family today. They would not exist if it were not for your providence in bringing me through those 4.5 days of hell.
We're talking to Edgar Harrell, the author of the book Out of the Depths. What is it that you would, if you wanted to, what is it that you want us to take from your book as we read it?
Well, I think I would like for everyone to realize the cost of freedom that is fast leaving us, and to pay respect to the veterans of yesteryear and those that we see even today. I see veterans daily, and as I see one, I give him a thumbs up, and if he pauses for a moment, I have an opportunity to thank him for the sacrifice that he's paying even yet today. Freedom is not free. It's costing us, and we have to be willing to pay the price.
You mentioned the course or the direction of our country, and, of course, you were a part of what I think we very accurately describe as the greatest generation of Americans ever. When you look at this current generation and the direction this country is headed in, what are some of the big problems that you see?
Well, I think our bigger problems is the moral free fall of our country, and we're going to pay the price, and we are paying the price. And so only with God's mercy and grace can America ever be what she once was, and that's what I see in America today.
Edgar Harrell, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the program this morning, and again, thank you so much for your service to our country, and I look forward to reading your book. It's called Out of the Depths. You mentioned you got to write this with your son. What was that experience like?
Well, it was it was bringing back old wounds, old memories, but it was necessary to get that off of my chest, and I have the joy today of traveling the country and telling of God's providence in my life, as well as the lives of some 317 out of the 1197 that were still alive to be rescued at the end of 4.5 days of literal hell.
Mr. Harrell, thanks again for your service. Thank you for your time this morning, and as we said, look forward to reading the book. Is it available online on Amazon and bookstores? Do you have a website that we could direct people to?
Yes, I have a website, IndySurvivor.com. I ship out, I sign all my books and send them out daily.
Oh, great. All right, well, we will send our listeners to that website, IndySurvivor.com. Thank you, sir, for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you kindly. Same to you, sir.
Thank you.
Semper Fi.
Yes, sir. There you go. Semper Fi. 727 here on News Talk. Wow. Those are the kind of interviews that you just... Like
another side of Mr. Harrell that we didn't discuss, he also served on the board of Moody Bible Institute for 15 years.
Did he really?
He did.
Oh, wow.
You talk about an all-around great man right there.
Yeah. That was a privilege to get to visit with him.
The name of the book, Out of the Depths. It is a book about the Indianapolis being sunk, and you can read about it and pick it up on IndySurvivor.com. And yes, I am posting the link to Facebook.
Good. I'm headed to the site right now just to check it out myself. All right, stay tuned. We got the Osgood Files coming up for you right now here on News Talk, brought to you by the Bruner Auto Group, where you really will drive a better deal.
The Osgood File, sponsored in part by LiftMaster Garage Door Openers. Use your smartphone to open or close your garage door anytime from anywhere. This is Sam Litzinger in for Charles Osgood. It's a challenge for blind or visually impaired people to navigate the world. Some of them have learned to read using Braille, a method by which their fingers fill in for their eyes. They see the written word by feeling it. Now some Israeli scientists are working on a contact lens that will let blind people see by pressing an image onto the surface of their eyes. More after this from Charlie.
There's an old saying, expect the unexpected. Wise words, like suddenly remembering you left your garage door open when you're halfway to work. With a LiftMaster garage door opener with MyQ technology, you can use your smartphone or computer to control your garage door from anywhere, anytime. And LiftMaster garage door openers with battery backup keep your garage door working even if the power isn't. So be prepared for the unexpected. Learn more and find a dealer near you at liftmaster.com. Why turn to a trusted choice agency for your insurance needs? Because trusted choice independent agents have the freedom of choice. They can use their expertise to competitively shop multiple providers on your behalf to find you a range of options at great prices. And you get unbiased and unparalleled service from, quote, true claims. Let's find you a better deal. Find your local Trusted Choice independent agent at trustedchoice.com. That's trustedchoice.com.
This sounds like the sort of device the blind character Geordi uses on the Star Trek shows.
Geordi, please put these...
I want to see in shallow, dim, beautiful, human ways.
Israeli researcher Zev Zalewski and his colleagues are working to help blind people see things